Gentlemen, let me make something clear right from the start. When a woman walks away from you, do not chase her, not because you're angry, not because you're bitter, but because chasing a woman who left you is a betrayal of your dignity. She walked away. That was her decision, and the moment she made that decision, she revealed something deeper about how she sees you, and how she sees herself in your life. You see, people don't just wake up one day and leave. That decision is often built up over time. It's layered with quiet judgments, unspoken thoughts, and hidden doubts. And when she finally walks away, it's not by accident, it's calculated, it's intentional. So the worst thing you can do as a man is to try to undo that decision by begging, chasing, or convincing her to come back. Because in doing so, you're saying that her choice means more than your standards, that her leaving is acceptable, and that your value depends on her return. But that's not how a man of principle operates. A Stoic man respects the choices of others, even if those choices hurt. He doesn't argue with reality. If she chose to go, then she has every right to do so. But you have the right and the responsibility to respond with strength, not desperation. Letting her go without resistance isn't weakness. It's discipline. It's emotional control. It's the ability to stand tall in the face of rejection without collapsing. Most men fold, most men chase, most men beg, but the ones who don't, the ones who let her walk and never turn back, those are the men who earn respect. Not just from others, but from themselves. You don't need to hate her. You don't need to trash her name, but you must accept her decision and in doing so reclaim your own power. Because the truth is, if she could leave you, she was never truly with you in the first place. Not on the level that matters, and no amount of chasing will fix that. When you stop chasing, you start healing, you start growing, and most importantly, you start sending a message to her, to the world, and to yourself, that you are not a man who waits for someone to realize your worth. You already know it. You don't fight for people who leave. You respect their choice, and then you choose yourself. Every time. When you chase a woman who walked away, you're not just pursuing her. You're elevating her above yourself. You're placing her on a pedestal that no one ever asked her to earn. You're signaling that she's somehow more valuable than you, more important than your dignity, your self-control, your peace. And the moment a woman senses that imbalance, she loses respect. Not because she's cruel or manipulative, but because nature doesn't reward neediness. It punishes it. When you chase, the message you send is that her absence has destabilized you, that your sense of worth was tied to her presence, and now that she's gone, you're grasping to restore it. That's not love. That's attachment rooted in fear, and women can smell that fear. They sense the desperation beneath the words, beneath the gestures, beneath the apologies. It doesn't matter how noble your intentions are or how much you claim to care. If your energy says, "I need you to feel okay," she'll instinctively pull further away. What makes a man attractive isn't his willingness to chase. It's his ability to stay grounded when someone withdraws. The moment you start running after someone who left you, you flip the dynamic. You're no longer the centered, calm, self-assured man. You become the pursuer, the one trying to win validation, and validation seekers never win. Even if she comes back out of guilt or curiosity, she won't stay. Why? Because the very energy that brought her back, your need, will eventually repulse her again. True attraction isn't maintained through pursuit. It's maintained through strength, through mystery, through self-respect. When you're the one being chased, it's because you're too focused on your mission to be thrown off by someone's absence. And if a woman sees that her leaving didn't break you, didn't change you, didn't move you off your purpose, then she begins to look at you differently, not as someone who needs her, but as someone who has options, someone rare, someone dangerous in his independence. So ask yourself, do you want her back out of love or out of insecurity? Because the difference is everything. And if your answer is the latter, it's not her you need to chase. It's the part of yourself you lost when she walked away. Every time you respond to someone walking away by chasing after them, you're not just reacting emotionally, you're training them. Whether you realize it or not, your behavior is teaching them exactly how to treat you. Relationships, like all human dynamics, are based on patterns and reinforcement. If someone disrespects you, distances themselves, or discards your value, and you respond by giving them more of your time, your attention, your energy, you're sending a silent but powerful message. You can do that to me, and I'll still be here. You might think you're fighting for love, trying to show her that you care. But what she hears, deep down, is that there are no consequences to abandoning you. That no matter what she does, she still holds emotional power over you. And once that dynamic is set, it's hard to break. When a woman learns that walking away from you leads to more validation, more compliments, more apologies, and more desperate energy, she begins to see you as someone who can be easily manipulated. Not always consciously, but emotionally. It's human nature to test boundaries, even unintentionally, and if your boundaries are weak, if your standards disappear the moment she withdraws, then your role in the relationship becomes submissive. You stop being the man who commands respect and start becoming the man who seeks approval. And from that position, you can't lead, you can't inspire, and you can't maintain attraction. You've become reactive instead of grounded. And women don't follow men who chase. They follow men who stay composed when others flinch. There's nothing wrong with loving deeply, but love without standards turns into weakness. If you allow someone to leave and return on their terms without addressing the disrespect that came with it, you're creating a revolving door, a door that they know will always be open, no matter how they treat you. And what does that say about your sense of worth? What does that teach them about your values? A man who values himself doesn't just walk away from disrespect. He makes it clear through his actions that his energy is a privilege, not a guarantee. You don't owe anyone continued access to your presence if they've chosen to walk away from it. By standing firm, by not chasing, by letting silence speak for you, you teach the world something crucial about who you are. You are not desperate for connection. You are disciplined about what you allow into your life. And that's the kind of man people remember, respect, and ultimately seek out. When a woman leaves your life, it might feel like the world is collapsing in that moment. You question everything, what went wrong, what you could have done differently, what she's thinking now. That kind of emotional weight is heavy. But what most men fail to understand is that her absence isn't just a loss, it's a clearing. It's an emotional and mental space being created for something new, something better, something more aligned with your values and your direction. Yet most men resist this clearing. They try to fill it immediately, often with the same person who caused the pain, out of comfort, fear, or habit. But clinging to someone who's already walked away keeps you chained to the past. It traps you in a cycle of longing and fantasy rather than growth and reality. Every moment you spend obsessing over her is a moment you're not spending on yourself, and the paradox is this: the more you focus on the woman who left, the less attractive you become to any woman worth keeping. I value women. Emotionally intelligent, grounded, self-respecting women are not drawn to men who are emotionally stuck. They're drawn to men who are in motion, who have direction, who don't let setbacks define them. When a woman walks out of your life, that's not the time to spiral. It's the time to rebuild. It's the perfect opportunity to audit your life, sharpen your purpose, redirect your energy, and elevate yourself to the next level. Because what's waiting for you isn't behind you, it's ahead. And you can't receive what's meant for you if your hands are still holding on to what's already gone. You have to see her departure for what it is. A door closing so another can open. But you won't notice that open door if you're staring at the one that just shut. Life doesn't give you growth without discomfort. And this kind of emotional pain, while raw and intense, is the exact pressure that forges stronger men, if you allow it to. But if you stay stuck in the past, chasing someone who already made her decision, then you become emotionally stagnant. You become unavailable to better opportunities, not just in love, but in your career, your friendships, your potential. When you stop chasing and start investing that same energy back into yourself, the shift is profound. Suddenly, you begin to attract people who align with your new standards. You begin to see yourself differently. You realize you never needed her to complete you. What you needed was her absence to wake you up to your own power. That empty space she left behind, it's not something to fear. It's something to fill with purpose, with discipline, with growth, and with people who actually choose to stay. When a woman walks away, the instinct for most men is to try to get her back, to prove something, to show her what she's missing, to make her feel the loss. And that instinct, if not controlled, becomes dangerous, not because it's aggressive, but because it turns you into a man ruled by emotion, not discipline. The urge to replace her with another woman right away, to parade someone new in front of her, or to post something for the sake of showing you've moved on, is nothing more than emotional theater. It's not real strength. It's not power, it's a performance, and real men don't perform for attention. They transform for themselves. Replacing her isn't about making her jealous. It's not about getting even. It's not about winning the imaginary breakup competition. That's all low-level thinking. That's what boys do, what men do. What stoic, grounded men do is replace her with purpose. You don't fill the space she left with distraction. You fill it with evolution. You replace her with the gym, with your business, with your spiritual growth, with your solitude. You build the version of you that would have never tolerated her indecision in the first place. Because here's the truth. If you rush to replace her with another woman, chances are you haven't grown at all. You've just traded one emotional dependency for another. And until you fix the root of that dependency, until you become whole on your own, you'll keep attracting the same kind of pain in a different package. That's why this point is so important. Replacing her must be about reclaiming your identity, not recovering your ego. It must come from a place of inner truth, not outer revenge. You need to become so dialed into your own mission that no woman becomes your identity again. You need to become so in love with your peace, your progress, your principles, that the thought of chasing or trying to show her anything feels ridiculous. That's the power of detachment. That's what true replacement looks like. When you grow into the man you were always meant to be, the version of you who would have never allowed himself to beg or chase or shrink just to keep someone who already decided to leave, that's when the shift happens. That's when life starts rewarding you, not with more women, but with more clarity, with more confidence, with real value, the kind you don't need to seek, because it naturally surrounds the man who lives by it. Replacing her isn't about her at all. It's about you finally choosing yourself without hesitation. And from that place of strength, everything else begins to change. Silence is one of the most powerful tools a man can use, especially when dealing with a woman who chose to walk away. Most men feel the urge to explain themselves, to argue, to plead their case, or to send one last message hoping to be understood. But when you go silent, you do something far more impactful. You shift the energy entirely. Instead of feeding her ego with emotional reactions, you remove your presence completely. And in that space, she starts to feel something she didn't expect. Your absence. Not just the absence of your words, but the absence of your attention, your validation, your emotional availability. Silence forces reflection. It creates a void, and that void speaks louder than any argument, any confession of love, or any desperate apology ever could. Women are highly attuned to energy. They can sense when a man is still emotionally tethered to them, even if he's pretending to be over it. But when you truly go silent, not as a manipulation tactic, but because you've genuinely detached, that energy disappears. She no longer feels your emotional pull. No more texts, no more checking her social media, no more hoping for a message, just stillness. That kind of silence disrupts her narrative. It challenges the belief that she could leave and still have access to you, and whether she admits it or not, it will make her think. Because silence doesn't scream, it echoes. It lingers in the quiet moments. It makes her wonder, why hasn't he reached out? Has he really moved on? Did I matter at all? That curiosity is far more powerful than any words you could send. But more importantly, silence isn't about her. It's about you reclaiming your center. It's about stepping out of emotional chaos and back into your peace. When you're silent, you give yourself the space to observe instead of react, to heal instead of chase, to elevate instead of beg. It's not passive, it's active self-control, and it's often the very thing that separates you men from the rest. Weak men talk too much. They vent, they plead, they try to control the narrative. Strong men know that the most dangerous move is sometimes no move at all. Because when you go silent, you're not just saying, I don't need you. You're showing it through calmness, through stillness, through your complete and total absence from her world. That's when the power shifts. That's when you go from being the one who was left to the one who left her wondering. And in that quiet space, you don't just protect your pride. You protect your peace, your focus, and your future. So when she walks away, let her. Don't chase, don't beg. Don't try to explain yourself to someone who already made a decision to leave. Instead, choose silence, choose purpose, and most of all, choose yourself. Every time you resist the urge to reach out, you strengthen your discipline. Every time you focus inward instead of outward, you reclaim your power. The man who learns to walk away with his dignity intact is the man who becomes unstoppable. Not because he needed her, but because he learned that losing her was the beginning of finding himself. Let her go, and become the version of you that no one can walk away from without feeling the weight of that loss. In the end, you don't need her back. You need to never betray yourself again.